When you come out of the villa, it's very disarming, because you've just been living this life in this bubble in this villa, and then you realise that people have been feeling really passionate about what they've been watching. And that series was the one that went really big, and I think no one really fully expected it to kind of do what it did. And we all hit like 1 million followers within like 24 hours of being out. That's quite scary. I think with Love Island, in my experience, and I'm not speaking for everyone that does this show, because I went in at the beginning and I went out at the end, it's all happening live, right? So actually it was worse for my family and friends, because they're reading it all as it's happening. I'm actually like oblivious to what's going on. And then this kind of strange thing happens when you come out of the villa. You just start searching your name and you start reading the debates, and it's very disarming, because you've just been living this life in this bubble in this villa, and then you realise that people have been feeling really passionate about what they've been watching. So you're kind of getting your head around that. But then as you come out, they kind of humanise you a little bit more, because you're on your stories and you can kind of show a little bit more of yourself outside of the show. So it turns a bit of a corner, but it's definitely a learning curve. Look, and that series was the one that went really big, and I think no one really fully expected it to kind of do what it did. And we all hit like 1 million followers within like 24 hours of being out. That's quite scary, because how do I navigate this? I didn't earn it. I don't know what to do with it. Like, and you just looking at it like, what do I do? And then you learn on the job, as it were. Always been quite thick-skinned. My mum, my sister, my family, the way we are is, it's kind of a tough love family, and I come from that modelling background and doing pageants and stuff, so never shied away from people's opinions. I've always been quite resilient to it, and I think that helped me, put me in good stead. But for some people that's not the case at all, and I know for some people it's incredibly difficult. And it's one of those, it's like some days I was really disconnected from it, and someone would write something really specifically mean, and I just feel like kind of comedically good, like you're wasting a bit of a talent here. Like, you shouldn't be on the Daily Mail. You should be doing some stand-up somewhere. It's actually quite decent. And then other days you're having a rubbish day, and someone's like, "Oh, you look like a praying mantis." You're like, "Oh my God, I like a praying mantis." So it just depends what day you're having, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I'm probably the other end of the spectrum. I am much more sensitive. I don't think I've got a thick skin at all.
But you must have on some level, or you wouldn't have been able to do what you've done.
I mean, but I've had periods of my career where I've gone, I'm out, I'm done. Like, I'm absolutely, like, so close to, I'm out, I'm done. And
because of dealing with the...
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, certainly one period of my life where, I was quite lucky, because I started so long ago. I started telly in 1996, so there was no...
Didn't have that.
Was the internet going in 96? Just about. Like, I don't know. I didn't know what people thought of me. I could do a TV show and I could go home, and then I'd go to the park and hang with my mates, and I wouldn't think about it ever again. So I think I found that introduction. So I remember when Twitter came about and I was on the radio, Reggie and I were doing a show, and he was like, "Oh, have you seen this thing called Twitter?" And I was like, "Oh, this is exciting." And it all felt quite cool at first, and like a way to connect with people. And I think incrementally we realised, oh, there's another side to this. And people, and actually when we were on the radio, we used to have this, I don't know if they still have this, like a screen up, and it would just have all the text messages coming in relentlessly, which was really full on back then, because we weren't using social media, so it was a direct way of communicating right into the studio. I mean, again, with no filter. And I became a little bit desensitised to that, because it was every day, like, some lovely things and lovely funny messages, but obviously the odd thing that was just, and people sort of saying, "You're not good." And I think it's really tricky to keep your self-worth, but also your self-compassion in place when that is an everyday thing. Because you do think, well, there must be some truth in this, and I actually don't think there is. I think, deep down, we all know what our capabilities are and what our skill set is. But I certainly, back in the day, really took everything to heart, and I think it was my self-worth and my self-compassion that dwindled so quickly. And I would then turn on myself and think, well, I'm not good, or I'm not, worthwhile being on this radio station, or whatever it might be. Do you think it impacts your self-love? Do you like yourself?
Yes, most days. I mean, like you say, self-love and self-liking myself for me has definitely been a journey. I think during my teen years, my early 20s, I had a difficult time at school in the sense that I had friends and I had fun, but that was about all I did. And I had the undiagnosed ADHD, so I had, a lot of guilt. I was wondering why some people found things easier than me, and I think I've gone through a really big journey of liking myself and loving myself. And I think that, like you say, this industry is a funny one because you find yourself in what is like a dream job, and you're like, okay, I'm actually really good at this, and then someone's like, no, you're not. Like, even though it's just some random guy from wherever, or a woman, it's a weird thing because there's not many other jobs. Unless you're like a sports person or you're on the telly or anything public, you don't just like run down to the local kind of accountants and bang on the window and go, you're not good at your job, by the way. Yeah. Or like, so it's really strange to have someone to be at work and people telling you you're crap at your job while they're doing it, because you're like, just let me finish my shift.
Exactly.
But then there's loads of, I'm never going to sit here and, like say I'm a victim or anything, because it's also a very privileged, lovely, exceptionally fun job to do. So I think with any job in life, period, there's like the good and the bad. And I think, unfortunately, with this day and age, with doing any public facing job, whether it's a sports person or an artist or whatever, the negative side is the constant standing trial in the court of human opinion, which it can be tough.
Absolutely. I mean, we had Gary Neville sat in this very chair yesterday. We did a podcast with Gary and his wife Emma, and he was saying, this crowd is so lovely in comparison to the football crowd, who are really unforgiving and will turn on someone in a heartbeat. And I think you do have to find coping mechanisms to deal with that. What do you think, what things, tools, coping mechanisms have helped you like yourself or find that level of self-compassion?
But actually, as you say that, so my husband, who's in the corner, Bradley.
Oh, hi, Bradley.
Hi, Bradley. Having him as a bit of a benchmark for me in terms of trolling after Love Island, when we got back together, was quite good, because football fans and the things that they can write to players, it's like we all know, we've all seen it, in the newspapers, are so awful that sometimes I would see messages that they get, and I think, God, okay, I've got it quite easy. And he's very, strong-minded, and he's very kind of focused on the job. And I think he's been very good at helping keep me in check and remind me that someone on the internet messaging me doesn't define me or doesn't mean that I'm bad or good or anything in between. I think as long as you are being true to yourself, like cliche, and you're being, who your friends and family know you to be, then you can be proud of yourself. But for me, I always say to all Love Islanders coming off, just try and spend, I know it's such an easy thing to say, try and spend as little time in your phone as possible. Like, do what you need to do what you want to do, but just don't go looking for stuff. Like, I've never had Google alerts on my phone. I wouldn't advise anyone to do that. Don't go searching your names in platforms, because I think it's just a road to nowhere. So that's one thing I never look for things. And quite often if I see things, it'll be because someone goes, oh my God, did you see this? And I'll go, no, but now you've said, I'll have a look.
I hate that text message. Or someone sends you a text going, I'm so sorry. And you're like, no, what? God, I haven't read the thing. What's the story? Like, awful. The worst text message possible.
So don't go looking for it. And just, live outside your phone. Like, my life isn't what I share in there and on there is what I choose to share. And I have to remember that I am a person and I have a life that exists outside of that platform.